Hey folks, BlackCross here. Welcome to another vlog video time. So this is normally the entry where I normally keep you up to date of all the upcoming events that's going to happen within the up and coming month or so. And depending on what happens here and there and stuff like that, as well as to give you some in-depth thought about what I think or what's going on in my life and stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So with the vlog, I want to go ahead and start off by basically talking about the games that we're going to be seeing within the next coming month. Obviously, there is still no announcement for any of the games that I am extremely hyped for. Obviously, Biomutant is right now at the top tier of games that I'm looking forward to the most. And then the next one is probably like Code Vein, and then Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. There's also Medieval, which I keep forgetting to bring up, but that's only because it was brushly talked about last year, actually. And by brushly talked about, it was only referenced once, actually, and all. And after that trailer, it was still really awesome to look at. But in terms of, like, updated details, we have yet gotten any details as to any of them. And I imagine we won't be getting any for, like, the next upcoming month, probably. Or if we do, it'll be one hell of a shock for me. But I imagine it won't be until June, whenever E3 goes on and all the other press conferences going on, that we will actually know more details as to when these other games are finally going to get released. And I'm hoping that they will be this year's release, because these games, some of these games have been pushed back for like a couple of years now. So if you follow me for as long as you have been following, then chances are you know how long I've been waiting for some of these games. So fingers crossed, hoping that they will eventually get released. So, but with that being in mind, let's go ahead and just talk about the game that I am currently playing right now. As of right now, I am playing through Final Fantasy XII. I'm actually pretty much enjoying the game as of right now, just relaxing and everything like that. I've gotten to the point where now I'm earning more gambits, so obviously I'm actually able to adjust accordingly and stuff. And chances are, all I have to do now is just get all of the gambit slots, and then I can just customize every character the way that I feel like they would best suit the way of combat. So needless to say, by the time I get to that point, it's going to be to a point where all I have to do is just go into the gambit and just move a slot, rather than just like, you know, turning on and off a certain slot or something like that. Instead, I can just auto adjust, and that would be it, you know. That way it's like, oh hey, first priority is to attack a high level enemy, or the first priority is to attack a flying enemy, or stuff like that, you know. And I feel like that would be like the best way to go about it. But for the time being right now, it is kind of a slow process, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless. That being said, though, I do want to jump back into another particular area, and that's obviously Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. If you guys remember, I did my 24-hour stream, and there were two games that I was playing. One of them was Kingdom Hearts 3 on critical mode, which by the time I stopped playing that part, I was at the Pirates World, and I just felt like I needed to stop on that point right there. And so eventually I might pick up later on, maybe I'll stream the continuation of Kingdom Hearts 3 critical mode. We'll see how that goes. I imagine if I do, we'll try to beat it, probably, more than likely. It'll just be for fun anyway. It is very enjoyable, but it's very hard, so I highly recommend people who are playing it on critical mode, I highly recommend that you would take the time to level up, you know, enjoy the game for what it is, but also enjoy the difficulty of what it is. So Kingdom Hearts critical mode is definitely worth it for those that are hardcore fans, for those that are casuals that haven't played many, if any at all, Kingdom Hearts. I recommend that you try to stay away from critical mode for quite a long while until you feel comfortable about wanting to go into critical mode. And that's saying a lot coming from me, but with that being said, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I definitely want to jump back into that eventually. Maybe, I don't know when. I'm hoping that this particular week, because this video will be released obviously Wednesday night on the 1st of May. I'm hoping it'll be released on the 1st of May. But anyway, I'm hoping to play a little bit of Breath of the Wild sometime tonight. I want to do it at least a once a week thing, and if I do, I want to play for at least a good 3 hours of playthrough. Mostly because Breath of the Wild is going to be one of those elongated gameplay. Not in a sense that, you know, there's a lot to do, because technically there is a lot to do, but just the massive world that it is. I had to literally download a map. Not so much a grid map, but a map of each individual sections, and it showed locations of all the different shrines, so that way I can actually find all the different spirit orbs. Because if you don't know, in Breath of the Wild, if you get 4 spirit orbs, you can exchange them for either a heart container, which extends your health, or a stamina container, which extends your stamina, obviously. And I would like to get a little bit more to where I can advance through the main story. As of right now, from whenever I was streaming, the farthest I got to was getting to the Zora domain. I hadn't really gotten any further since then, but I imagine if I start back the stream, if we do a little bit more of spirit orb finding and stuff, we may go back into the mission of taking care of the Zora domain and helping them out, and possibly getting back on the Radaru temple thing, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, though, that's definitely the plan. Definitely play through Final Fantasy XII on my normal days, and then on once a week thing, one of my 2 days off that I have, I'll do like a late night stream or something like that, and I'll play through Breath of the Wild for about 3 hours or so, depending. We'll see how that goes. For the most part, however, though, I want to go ahead and update you guys about one particular thing that's going to happen in May, because I have finally got it scheduled up. I'm hoping that if my blood pressure continues to stay the same that it is right now, I should be able to go into the office. They can check me if they want to. Obviously, they will have to because of what they're going to do to me. But my blood pressure should be level to where they can go ahead and do the procedure, and I can finally get this one tooth removed. Finally. It has been forever since I talked about it, obviously, and that's only because I've been wanting to go ahead and level out my blood pressure, and now I'm finally get to that point to where I can actually get that removed. So May 20th is whenever I'm going in to have it removed. So I will be out for the next couple of days from the 20th to like maybe the 25th or the 26th, depending. Again, we'll see what happens. If I feel up to it sometime within the 24th or 5th, then yes, I'll jump back into streaming. If not, you'll know, obviously, I'll be out of commission for a while. But I will try to get some videos fixed up to where that way you'll have something to watch within the couple of days that I'm out. I am actually pretty good on videos. Like, I don't know how, but I've always been able to actually keep up to pace when it comes to videos. Then again, I have been kind of off and on when it comes to uploading videos. So chances are you'll still see a video once every 2 days at least. You know, it won't be any more than that, you know. It's not like I'll be gone for like 5 days and you won't hear anything. No, you will see videos for at least 2 or 3 days that I am out. So there's no worries on that one. But if you've been watching me on streaming, then I will be out for at least a good 3-4 days at most, probably, depending. We'll see what happens. I'm not looking forward to what's going to happen because obviously this time around they're going to do something massively different. For those that don't know, this particular procedure, they're going to use some kind of anesthesia to knock me out long enough to where they can pull that one tooth out, because it's at the very back of my tooth and it's completely degraded. So they're going to finally remove that out, and I'm looking forward to it because that one has been bothering me the most. Not in terms of pain, mind you, but in terms of, like, I want to say like chewing habits, because it's right there and I can feel it within like the back end of my tooth, my back end of my tongue, so I know it's constantly there. And to some extent, the pain isn't really painful, it's just a nuisance is what it is. So it's one of those type, imagine this happening to you all the time. It's like it's reminding you constantly that, hey, I'm still there, I'm still there, I'm still there. And it's like, I know you're still there, would you please stop? So it's finally going to be a time to where I can finally remove it and I can actually have normal, well, not so much normal, but at least pain-free to some extent of teeth. Now, technically, if you remember in some of my past videos, whenever I talk about the tooth and everything like that, originally, the last step after getting that removed would be to fix up a bridge for this one tooth that is no longer in existence, that I took out first. And I thought about it for a while, and while on the one hand it would be nice to have something right there, in terms of financial thinking of it, I don't see a reason to have a bridge for just one tooth. Maybe for like 4 at most, but really after that, why would I need a bridge for just one tooth? I mean, for just one tooth, it's like $400 after insurance and stuff. So keep in mind, why would I want to pay $400 for just one bridge, which within like 5-10 years, who knows how long that will be, I will have to end up removing the tooth that's behind that and many others to come. So eventually, why just do that whenever I can just slowly remove teeth that will eventually come out eventually, and ultimately just get one big false teeth? I mean, I know some people will be like, well, get implants or something. Well, in terms of right now, I'm not really in the struggle for wanting implants or anything like that. And really, when you look at my teeth, they're not that bad. They may not be as white as some people, but they're not as bad as some people. In fact, for my mother and father, for that matter, some of their teeth are a little bit... They were at one point in time, before they actually really took it serious about their teeth, they were at times black. So, compared to what mine was, which was mostly cracked, theirs was literally black. So, and keep in mind, my dad, at a previous time, would chew tobacco a lot. So naturally, that was the cause of that. My mother, she just never took good care of her teeth. So, with that being said, my teeth are actually in pretty good condition. So, I don't think I'm going to worry about any particular bridge after they remove this. If nothing else, we're just going to do just a normal, like, check everything to make certain everything is good. And if something happens or whatever, then we'll remove that tooth or something, obviously. But we won't really need to do, like, a bridge or anything like that. Unless it's, like, in the middle or something, you know, like it's visibly visible. Because this one right here, you can't really see it. And it wasn't until I mentioned to some of my friends, I was like, really, you can't see that I had this removed. And they're like, really? I was like, yeah. And when I do this, then they can see. But after that, you can't really see it. So it's like, what's the point in having a bridge for something that I'm not really going to use? Because in terms of chewing, I don't really need it. Because really, it feels like it's massaging it. So it's not really painful. It just massages it. And it feels so nice to be able to chew on this side. And I keep forgetting that. I keep forgetting that I can chew on this side now. And it's very nice. It's very relaxing. So in some extent, I'm looking forward to getting this removed and just having that both effect of where I can chew either side and never have to worry about that painstaking struggle of like when something hits it, it's like ow, and instead it's just more or less relaxing. But with that being said, aside from the tooth, what else was there that I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, I was wanting to update you guys on the internet thing. So me and Daniel talked about it, me and Delmar, and we agree that at the end of May, we will actually move on from where we were with this one company and move on to the one company that I was telling you about. You know, the whole 500 megabytes a second, and then if we wanted to later on in the future, because we're going to test it. We're going to test the 500 megabytes and see how well it works, because if it works well enough to where Delmar can chat with his friends and I can do my live stream at full capacity without any interruptions, then really we don't need a full gigabyte at that point. At that point, I think really we don't need a gigabyte. We would just need the 500 megabyte, because really the max gigabyte that Twitch says is at 25 megabytes. And after that, it's like, then what's the point, right? So it's like, I don't think I need the full gigabyte. Yes, it would be nice, but in terms of like what is necessarily needed for the internet, I think 500 megabytes is perfect for what we need technically. So it's going to be nice to see it, but we're going to experiment with it obviously. And plus for $50, technically we are paying 60 for our current one, mostly because after a year it bumps it up obviously from the said $50 a month to now $60 a month. But, so it's not going to hurt us in terms of payment-wise. If nothing else, it would be cheaper, technically. So we'll start off with the 500 megabytes. We'll do some testing to see what happens. I will do a test stream, obviously, just to see how powerful we can go. And if we can go as powerful enough as we are able to, then that's where we'll go from there. And then from there, it's just a matter of saving up enough money to where I can get a full-powered streaming PC, which I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that really, really badly. It's going to be insane just to get a full power streaming PC, and I can just do whatever the hell I want with it. You know, it's just, we can finally stream at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and all that good jazz. But at the same time, it's going to be nice just to have a unique PC specifically designed for streaming. But I know some of you are going to be asking, what about your other PC? What about the PC you're using right now? Are you going to get rid of it or what? And it's like, the truth is, it still works. So in terms of like casual use, like obviously editing videos or like recording vlogs and stuff like that, I think I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to keep that PC as my mainstream PC haul until something happens to this one. Then I have a backup PC for just in case. So I mean, I figured that makes sense. You know, again, it's the PC itself that I'm designing is going to be specifically made for streaming purposes. So it just makes sense just to make it stream and then keep this one, because obviously it is still running perfectly fine in terms of editing, in terms of recording and stuff like that. It's perfectly fine in terms of streaming. It's not the max, it's at the max capacity that it could possibly be, I think. Any higher than that and I'm risking like faulty error in terms of my end when it comes to recording, streaming and stuff like that. So again, we'll just see what happens from there. But at that point in time, I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to go ahead and kind of throw at you, just because I felt like, you know, this is something. Oh yeah, that's right. So I wanted to originally make a separate video of this, but I guess I might as well go ahead and talk about it right now while I still got you. So I just turned 30, as I'm sure you are aware of, and you know, a lot of people, whenever they ask something, whenever you get to a certain point in age, they'll ask you, so how does it feel to turn such and such age? Or, so, are you feeling any older and stuff like that? And, you know, before I could tell you, no, I don't feel any older. You know, when I was turning from 28 to 29, I could tell you, no, I don't feel any older. However, I can actually tell you for a fact that within the past couple of months prior to my birthday, I do feel actually older than I usually do. Now, here's what I say. So, if you remember, actually I don't think I've talked about it as much, but I've talked about it to some extent. But recently I've started to develop a heel problem on my right heel. Yeah, my right side. My right heel. So I can't really walk on that heel. I'm actually walking on the main foot itself. Like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this as best as I can. I don't know how well I can do this, but okay. So I can't step on this, because if I do, eventually it's going to send sharp pains right through it, in which case it's agonizing pain. Instead, I am walking on this part right here. So imagine, like, if you're familiar with an actual werewolf, how they walk and stuff, you can kind of envision how a human foot would function. So instead of it being the full foot, it's more or less just the first part of the foot instead. I'm trying to not step on the heel as much, and then that way it doesn't hurt as badly. Now, because of doing this change, it does something else. It more or less uses muscles that my leg and feet are not used to. So while on one hand my heel doesn't hurt, my feet are excruciatingly wore out. So it doesn't really help in that regard, but it does help in the small run of things. I imagine that as soon as I get to a point where my muscles get used to it, then eventually I won't have to worry about it. But I do have to be careful and be mindful of the heel itself, because because here's the problem. It doesn't hurt whenever I walk for hours on end and stuff like that, but it hurts afterwards. So imagine working full 8-hour shifts and stuff like that. You go home, sit down on the couch for a while, then you actually get up and you try stepping on that heel. That's when the pain actually starts. That's when things become a whole agonizing pain. And I've been taking a lot more Tylenol and ibuprofen than I'm used to. Now, I used to take a lot of them whenever I was working at the factory. This makes sense, obviously. But in this case, I'm not doing a lot of work. I'm just doing a lot of, like, walking around and stuff. So I'm trying to find ways to make it easier to where I can do the same stuff that I've been doing at my job, and at the same time trying to prevent from as much movement as possible. Doesn't work that well because of half the time I'm pulling heavy pallets, which doesn't really help considering what goes on inside the store. And then of course lifting heavier objects and stuff like that, which I can still do. You know, my upper body strength is fine. My lower body strength, on the other hand, is absolutely shit. So, it's like I was telling somebody who is technically 10 years older than me, because he was asking me how old I was. I told him I would be 30. And he's like, well, you're 10 years short from me. And I was like, yeah, I imagine by the time I get to a certain point in my life, I imagine that my legs are going to be the first one to go. I'm going to be limping all over the place. So, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, well, I guess that's going to happen. So, might as well get used to that ideal. But that's not the only thing that's happened to me. My eating habits are fixing to change now. And I have to change my eating habits now because I recently discovered something that I never thought would happen to me. And that's my gut. So, we recently have a new gas station that opened up. They leveled out a place and put in a new gas station, which, I mean, oh gosh, we got so many empty buildings. I want to do a small vlog video where I can just show you all of the empty buildings we have in Crossville. It is the saddest thing you will ever see. We get new buildings all the time, but we've got so many small individual empty buildings, it is painfully sad. But anyway, to a point, we recently got a new gas station, and they have some excellent choice foods. At first, they had it available at all times, so we were like, oh, this is perfect for a third shift, which means we can get a cheeseburger, we can get a sub sandwich, we can get a pizza anytime we want to, and we were like, this is so freaking awesome. And recently, they just fixed their menu to where now, at a certain time period, you can't get their lunch menu stuff. So it's like, frick, that sucks. It's like, dadgummit, can't you just serve your burgers 24 hours a day? If they had a steak and shake here, I would be in paradise, baby, because it's open 24 hours as well. So that'd be nice. But to that degree, they had this one thing called the Mega Meat Pizza. So I was like, awesome, I love meat lovers, so I'm going to eat the heck out of this. So one day, I ate like 3 pieces of the pizza itself. A few hours later, I had to take a crap. Now, the good news is that in terms of the, and this is going to get disgusting, I do apologize, but this is just to help you explain the situation. In terms of crapping, it went through me. Like, we're talking like completely volcano on this thing, you know, without the spices, mind you. But it was just in that same regard. But after that, something happened. My gut, my lower gut, hold on a sec. This part right here, I'm sure some of you can probably pinpoint where that's at specifically. I don't know the specific medical term of where that's at. But that part right there felt like a knife was jabbed in there. It was so excruciatingly painful. And so imagine if you tried touching it for a second. It felt like you were jerking it. And it's like, oh. That happened to me one time, and I was like, oh no, what's happening to me? I don't know what's going on. It eased off like a couple hours later, so I was like, okay, I'm fine. Didn't think nothing of it, though. Ordered the Mega Meat Pizza again. The same thing happened. And I was like, what is this pain? And a friend of mine was telling me it could be the fat and grease that's in that pizza. And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, think about it. Imagine the fact that it has ham, obviously, right? And I was like, well, yeah. It has sausages, right? I would hope so. And it's like, well, obviously, they probably used some product that had, like, high in dense fat, or probably worse, high in grease. So it was probably enough to where not only did it go straight through you, but it affected your gut in a way. And I'm like, so imagine now I have to be careful what I eat. If I eat too much of it, it could affect me in a really, really bad way later on. So it's like, I just had turned 30 and I'm now having to watch my eating. That's not good. then again, it should be a good thing because that's a warning to say, hey, let's level out our eating habits right now. Just right now. And it's even worse too because a couple of months before that, we used to go to McDonald's at like 2 o'clock of the morning and stuff like that because they still serve burgers at that time. Well, I had my normal burger that I normally get, and I took one bite, and I realized something wasn't right. Their patty was soaked in grease. Now, keep in mind, yes, I know some meat can be cooked in its own grease and stuff like that. I do know that sometimes it helps enhance the flavor and stuff like that. But in this case, it was like it was drenched in its own grease. Like it was swimming in layers of grease. So it's like, imagine picking it up and then as soon as you kind of like squeeze it a little bit, grease was just like oozing out of it. And I was like, no, I can't. That's, oh gosh. Not only was it disgusting, it kind of hurt me. Except it wasn't there. It was up here. You can kind of guess where this is going. So now I'm having to watch how much I eat. So now I told myself I'm only going to eat half of what I was going to eat. Because if I keep doing what I've been doing, I'm eventually going to end up in a state that I can't turn back. So it's like, you know what? You know what the saying goes, my next 30 years I'm going to do better. So it's like, now's the time to do it. On my 30th year, time to get better at it. So it's just, it sucks, but at the same time, I guess that's part of growing. You kind of have to get used to the changes that your body goes through, and once you reach that point in your age, you're going to have to make that major step of change, because otherwise it's going to affect you in the worst way that you could possibly think of. And in my case, people say that 30 is young. That is true. But in this case, I feel like it's going to hurt a lot later on. So I'm going to have to try to figure out how to get used to not eating as much. But at the same time, I also have to control how much I drink as well, because I'm trying to reduce the amount of carbohydrates I drink and just drink like water or stuff like that. On record, I know this is no better, but I know it's somewhere in the right direction that I should be, because I can't really just drink straight out water. It's just, after a while, my body just tries to reject water, it seems like. You know, every once in a while, it will accept water, but then after, like, so often, because I'm a fish, I have to drink a lot of water, all of a sudden, my body will try to regurgitate the water. I know that's disgusting to hear, but that's what it feels like sometimes. I can't drink that much water, so every once in a while, I'll drink, like, one caffeine every once in a while. Right now, it's not the good time because the Baja Blast just recently got back in stock in Walmart, and I love Mountain Dew Baja Blast. I love that. It is my elixir. At the same time, it is also my poison. But yeah, I guess it's just part of the change that goes through, and you gotta get used to it. You gotta push through every once in a while. But at any rate, though, guys, let me know in the comments below. What are you looking forward to most? Are you looking forward to Final Fantasy XII streams? Are you looking forward to the Breath of the Wild streams that I'll be doing once a week? Are you looking forward to the higher quality in streaming that I would be pushing out when I get to that point? So let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.